Give it a second here for everything to get set up. And I just want to welcome everybody. Happy holiday, whatever holiday you might be celebrating, or maybe just happy Sunday. Welcome to the last Sunday Collective of this year. And the next one's going to be in January, believe it or not. So thank you so much for joining me today. You picked an amazing topic today. So thank you so much to everyone that voted. We'll be taking a look at the energy of the Phoenix, which is really, really amazing for both reinvention and new beginnings, which is how I titled this today. So we're going to be looking at places in your life where you may have felt like you were stuck, or you've been wondering, how can I make this work? Today, we're going to try to find ways to rise above things. Okay, I'm going to put down this little lovely entity here, my puppy here, Apollo, and we're going to really get focused on so many messages that want to come through today. Dreams last night in particular were pretty intense because I had a feeling that there'll be a lot of people today. And again, because of the topic that you've selected, I think a lot of you are wondering about things like old jobs, or trying to kind of like find a way to make it a better New Year. So even though I'm going to be doing a special, by the way, on Friday, a New Year's Eve special, this is a nice sort of precursor to that, because it helps you set up and clear out anything that's going on in your life that could somehow hold you back. One of the energies that came to me last night was a cobweb. And so I think that some of us are getting maybe stuck in the cobwebs right now. And this week between Sunday to Sunday, basically this last year and the next year, is going to give you a chance to kind of clear out all of those cobwebs. Let me introduce myself, because I just went kind of straight into everything. My name is Ashbaugh. Like I said, that little resplendent creature in the background is Apollo. And what we're going to be looking at today is an all-inclusive message. When I say collective, I mean everybody's welcome here today. And we will have a special portion, like right after I do the 7-day forecast, that will focus on the elements, which would be like earth, air, water, fire. But aside from that, everything here is for everybody that's present. The way that this is organized is as follows. We're going to begin with channeled messages, which are right here on the table in front of me. Those came through you selecting the totem for today, me also kind of connecting with my own dream totems, and then the research that I do and the channeled writing that I do before I get started. After we do this, we'll have a 7-day forecast, Sunday to Sunday. We'll take a look at blessings and blocks, and then the elemental forecast. And like I said, that portion is really to kind of give you what you need for the week ahead. Then we kind of dig a little deeper and do some soul work and look at a sort of timeless reading that's going to help you with that energy of reinvention, new beginnings, the Phoenix. So although this will be very appropriate for this part of the year, it's also going to be great for you anytime you want to look at it in 2022. You can come back and watch that portion. And we always like to close here with a meditation, and I pull a final card at the end in case I miss anything. So that's the main format for today. So without any further delay, let's get started. Just a couple of quick notes while we're doing that. Maria Margarita will be helping if you have any high-level questions. She's my moderator today. If you'd like to show support, please, if you're brand new, subscribe. First of all, welcome, and also subscribe if you get a chance. Anybody can hit the thumbs up once. That helps people discover this, so I appreciate that. You can join me on social media if you'd like reminders. I know that YouTube isn't always great about that, so if you'd like to get some reminders, you can click on that pinned comment that I put up above, and that'll give you some of the information that you need on how to do that. And I think those are the main things here. If you did happen to show some support today, thank you so much. I will give you a shout out at the very end, and the way that you can show support is by clicking on this little icon right by the emojis. You can also become a channel member, where you get a chance to vote twice on these weekend collective topics. On replay, you can click thanks. Okay, with all of that out of the way, let's talk about your symbols today. So you have the Phoenix, which I'm going to spend most of the time talking about, a little bit about the cobwebs as well. The Phoenix is cool, and I always like to look at my totems in a different light. So I know I've talked about the Phoenix before, and I think I've even talked about this deity a bit, but I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into like the Egyptian side of it, not so much the sort of like Roman mythology of this, or the Greek mythology. So there is a deity in Egypt, which is known as, I think it's Bennu, B-E-N-N-U, and it's this sort of heron type goddess, or god rather, that is associated with the sun. And let's talk about this. It's kind of a cool deity. So this isn't just the flaming bird that we normally would think of in Greek mythology, because again, there are like at least 2 or 3 different mythologies where this flaming bird exists in, Arabic as well, and I talk about that in a moment. But so Greek, Egyptian, and Arabic mythologies all have this sort of fiery bird. It is named, as I said, in Egyptian mythology, Bennu, and it's closely related to the phoenix. It may be the origin, actually, of that bird. It was a self-created deity, and I think this is one of the most fascinating pieces about this. Basically, it came up from nothing. So it created itself, and it played a role in the creation of the world, which is really, really cool. Yeah, Thunderbird, of course, can be another one in a lot of native cultures. Before we talk about this, a couple of things that I want to remind people for Egyptian mythology. There's the Ka and the Ba. The Ba is the part that actually would be associated with this bird because, let's see if I can pull a picture. In a lot of different inscriptions over the tombs, you would see this bird with the face of the human. And it basically was the Ba was the part of the soul that could fly or travel in the afterlife. And the Ka was the life force that's contained within our body. This is like the Cliff's Notes version of it. So basically, what Egyptians would do with embalming or the mummification was to delay, basically making sure that the body would exist long enough for the reunification of these two parts of the soul. So that there wouldn't be a second death. That would be if the reunification didn't take place. It would be the ghost in our modern sort of energies here. So let me see if I can show a picture of the Ba in Egyptian mythology so you can see it. It's a kind of cool image, but you'll see it's just an anthropomorphic head, like a human head over top of a bird, which is kind of flying over the body. Here we go. So here's an example of what it looks like. If I can get a bigger picture, I'll pull it up here so you can see it. All right, there we go. So that little flying creature above the body was basically your soul, part of your soul. Like I said, there's two parts. So what we're getting at here is that this deity here was actually the Ba, or that flying part of the soul for Ra, which was the sun god. And I know it's kind of complicated, but if we think of other religions where there's like a trinity, sometimes the deity is split into multiple parts. So this is part of the sun god, basically. And this beautiful bird basically flew over the waters of creation, over Noon, the waters of creation, and landed on a rock and let out a call, it started to sing. That call shaped what creation would look like. And there's other, even like modern day myths. Lord of the Rings, actually the Silmarillion, there's this god named, I think, is it Iluvatar or whatever? But basically there's this song of creation that is in that sort of prequel to the Lord of the Rings, and it's kind of a cool thing. So music being a creative force, or voice being a creative force, is not something new, but it is something important when we look at this particular totem today, because bar none, the most important thing for you as you step into January is going to be your imagination, your ability to articulate, your belief in that, because again, this particular version of the Phoenix was self-made, a self-made god. And so I always find that fascinating because it didn't rely on anything else. Through its own sort of, through its own power, through its own desire to want to be, it breathed life into itself. It also shaped the world around it. We all have that ability because we're all part of that same creative force. Although these are myths, there's really cool messages that come through in myths, which is why it's always fascinating to look at world religions and mythologies. There's a lot of common threads and a lot of cool lessons in it. So whenever we look or focus on a symbol, that's what this symbol is telling us, the ability to really speak something into existence, not just think it, but speak it. So your voice can shape your world. Use it wisely. Use it. Don't lose it. Use it. You got to make time to sort of make sure that you're being heard and being seen. State your dreams. State your wishes. Your criticisms. Just basically what this is saying is don't sit back idly and wait for things to happen, because it's that sort of that lack of being proactive, that sort of passive energy that's going to let someone else or something else kind of step in. Okay. The title of this being was He Who Created Himself, a reminder that, again, we can all be self-made, which I love. So that is the main energy of the Egyptian sort of version of this. I didn't even get into the Thunderbird here. I was just focusing on this because that was what struck me the most as I was looking at all the different religions and all the different mythologies, was this ability to breathe it, speak it, think it into existence. As I said earlier, it's in many religions, including native cultures, but Arabic as well. There's another being there. I think it's Anka or Anke. All of these birds had the same sort of thing in common, which was a long life and an ability to reincarnate or be reborn. So a phoenix cannot truly die. It may not live forever, but its death is not an eternal death. It is a change. It's what I actually would see the transformation card truly as, which is a nexus, a doorway, a portal. So the phoenix is reminding you that when you shed a skin, when you let go of something, it's just allowing you to expand and become something more. And I think it's really interesting that the Ba portion of the two-part soul in Egyptian mythology had that bird flying around it. So we're all meant to spread our wings a little bit, right? I didn't even write that in the cards, but I really think that's part of this as well. So obviously these symbols are connected with longevity, reinvention, reincarnation, perseverance, also this sort of element of surprise, because sometimes people expect you to not succeed, to somehow stumble. And when you come back, or you come back stronger, it's always a more interesting story sometimes. That's why we like to watch things like Behind the Music, or, watching someone kind of coming back. Even Elvis had like that comeback special or whatever. Everyone likes to see someone pick themselves up, dust off their shoulders, and say, I'm going to try this again. So let this new period be a chance for you to reimagine. We've had a couple years of being sort of energetically beaten down by just all of the stuff that's been going on in the world. And I think that what if it was just to kind of help us get off the paths that we weren't supposed to be on? And this is a chance to really step into that. When the pandemic first began a few years back, right? We're kind of entering into the third year here soon. A few years ago, it was a lot easier to understand that it was a wake-up call. But as it started to kind of like continue, some of us went back into old habits. Some of us kind of lost the overarching view of like, what can we do for a mental reset? So we don't need a wake-up call to change our lives. It helps. So sometimes there's you can have a health scare. Sometimes someone comes into your life, or someone leaves your life. Whatever that sort of wake-up call can be, or that catalyst can be, it's nice, but you can do it on your own, just like this self-made God could kind of create himself just on his own. So let's decide in 2022 to do something bigger, bolder, and better. Let's not be constrained by the ashes of the past couple of years. Let's allow those to kind of be the rich context and soil from which we can kind of move into the next piece, whatever's coming through. Okay. Eight of Cups, a little bit of the Eight of Cups energy came through as well, which I see as second chances. If there's any old karma or anything in your past that you need to clear, this is a time to do it. So clear out that old karma, mend the bridges if there's been any burnt bridges, because this is a chance for you to kind of step into a new opportunity, a new you. Okay. If you would like to, there's also sort of this opportunity for activation to happen too. And I think that this is a choice internally, and you have to just decide, like, if not now, then when? And also, like, why am I holding back? There's so many reasons some of us can hold back from taking action or moving forward. This is really just encouraging you to not delay. This is the time. The time is now. Okay. So next piece, let's look at the cobwebs, which I've been talking about a little bit. So in my dream last night, as I was kind of, a lot of times I'll have 2 or 3 little vignettes that I pick up on prior to a live stream like this. And what I was seeing was, it was split into 2, the cobwebs and then growth of new sort of plants and energy. The cobwebs were important though, because some of them were obstructing the growth of the plants. So for those of you that might have lived on the East Coast, or you've seen some of these sort of caterpillars that will build nests on trees and bushes, and they don't kill the plant. So if you're patient, after that season, you can just kind of rinse it all out. It'll be okay, and prune it back a little bit. But what they can show is an obstruction in growth. And that's what we're going to talk about. And also, like, even in our houses, as much as I love spiders, I'm not going to let the cobwebs gather. I'll try to get that spider outside, sweep it, and then sweep it out on the porch or something. But if you start to see a cobweb, or if you see these sort of webbed caterpillars forming on things, it can show that there hasn't been a lot of activity or movement. It shows some stagnation. So I'd love for you to kind of clean up things. If you've been procrastinating on anything, then I'd love for you to start to get rid of that stuff. If you needed to call someone, if you need to pay something, pay a bill, pay a debt, if you need to somehow kind of resolve something before the New Year's resolutions, resolve the old stuff. Definitely clean up this week. Take action now. And if you're going to start something new, really be picky and diligent in looking at all the sort of smaller pieces. So leave no rock unturned. So this means like in a contract, asking all the questions that you can, in a conversation, making sure that both sides are clear, all of that. This next piece was super specific for those of you that might be trying to find either a new apartment or a new house. I saw you at the negotiation table. I saw a lot of zeros, and I saw that it made you nervous. So I think you should be very mindful of what your comfort zone is. If you're going to buy a big ticket item, if you're going to have a very important negotiation, or if you're signing some sort of a contract, it doesn't have to be literally sort of buying a house or a car or something like that. It could also be negotiating something that means a lot to you. What I saw was the other party was pushing you past that point of comfort and into the zone of like 7 of Pentacles or 2 of Pentacles, which is calling into question balance. So don't stretch yourself too thin. If it's too much, there'll be something better that comes along that is going to fit within your comfort zone and also maybe your financial zone as well. So I would encourage you to really trust your gut when it comes to how much you're going to pay for something. Okay. Everybody has a different zone. And also when it comes to how much people are going to compensate you for something, making sure that you're getting what's deserved. There was a little bit of an imbalance or inequity there, and I want to make sure that you're okay. And there could be a little bit of overcharging or overpayment. Some people are taking advantage of like the financial markets right now and the lack of options when it comes to housing and things like that. So probably it's a great seller's market, but not necessarily a great buyer's market. So I'm really talking to the buyers out there to be mindful and to be careful. Okay. So next piece. I'm so glad you guys like the camera, by the way. This is a pretty new addition, so thank you. One thing that I'll be doing today when I look at the Celtic cross, I'll pull it down for that, but for the rest, it's just one-on-one with us. Okay, I was also talking about plants in your life. So for some of you, and how this can kind of represent growth. So it felt like everywhere I was looking, I was seeing things growing, like moss on the wall, vines everywhere. It was like springtime. I was basically seeing springtime, but it was almost as if you couldn't stop it. Everywhere I looked, kind of like if you've ever looked at one of those living walls in a house or on the outside of a house where they plant things sort of on the side, even though you wouldn't think they would hold up, they hold up. So I was seeing plants everywhere, almost on the ceiling too. So I really feel like there's a lot of room for growth, literally, like all these different rooms. And what you have to think about is where is my time and energy best spent? Because I see a lot of productivity and a lot of power as you step into the new year. There could be people around you that want to kind of like tap into that. So that's where you want to be mindful of how much energy you want to give to others. Okay. So also there's a lot of power in having green things around you. I normally have more orchids, but for the holidays, I took them out. But what you can do in January is to start to make sure that in your house, in your office, wherever you're at, make sure that you have some fresh flowers. Even if putting some fresh cut flowers will help open up the energy. But looking at this, plants need what? Water, they need nourishment, and they need attention. If you have something like a rose, it also needs pruning. So you're going to be walking between all of these different things and making sure that you can allow for that growth and foster that growth. You have to care for that new path in your life, okay? So sometimes we just hope and expect and wish for things to kind of come through. This card, these sort of collection of messages actually are saying you have to sort of feed it. You have to feed your passion and your desire. So choose to put some energy into it. And you're going to see some rapid growth, more than you thought possible. Okay. Beautiful messages so far that came through. So thank you for selecting a really great totem. And I can't wait to see now what's coming through for the next 7 days and et cetera, et cetera. So let me stack up all of these cards. If you miss anything, I'll post them on social media later. That pinned comment is up above. You'll see in the upper corner there. Welcome, everybody. This portion that we're working in right now is for all that are present. So we will only have one little section that's sign specific. The rest of this is for everybody. Okay. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy early sort of New Year's. But we're going to, like I said, I'll be doing something on Friday, a special New Year's Eve celebration. More to come on that. I'll probably have some things that you can vote on in the coming days. So give me a chance to kind of think about it. This was a nice segue into it. I feel like we had to clean up some of our old stuff before we could get into that. So So there we go. All right, let me take a look and see what I'm being called to use for the next period. I'm going to use let's see, I might use this deck over here. I've got a couple over here. So I might use the True Heart Intuitive, or I'm trying to think what would be really good for the new year for you. Yeah, we'll use the True Heart Intuitive because it called to me. So let's use this for the next portion here. I'm going to be looking at the next 7 days. Even as I'm kind of splitting the deck in half, we have the High Priestess popping out, which is cool. So let's see. We're going to go Sunday to Sunday. I'll pull the camera down for this portion. I'm not going to do it for each, but I will do it for this portion. So you can kind of see the cards as I do it. Again, I may not be able to get it to stay here. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it up right now because the tripod's not going to let me do that. So we'll just leave it as is and leave well enough alone. I'll get it working for the other portion. I just have to tighten one of the screws there. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All right, so let's begin with today. This is the day to get real. The Seven of Swords is really encouraging you to make sure that you're being honest with yourself and you're also being honest with others. If there's anyone in your life that is calling into question that sort of transparency or that honesty, then what you have to be focusing on right here and right now is how can we really get to the point and get to what's real? I think this is a really great message a week before New Year's to come through. So if there's anything that you've really been wanting to do in your life and you think to yourself, I'll do this tomorrow, I'll do this next week. It could be putting off a doctor's appointment. It could be starting something new, a healthier path in your life, cooking or eating healthier, etc. This is really saying the only person in this particular situation that you're fooling is yourself. So this is a chance for you to get real. If there's someone in your life that has been, for any reason, kind of misbehaving or acting up a bit, then what this is trying to help you with is to deal with that person quickly, honestly, and to kind of step away from that sort of energy. So you don't have time for that. And you're nobody's fool. We have two sly foxes in the corner here, and we see someone that's trying to get away with something by crossing their fingers. And this is really saying, now I can see through that. I understand what's going on. So letting other people know that you're nobody's fool, being honest with yourself. And if there's anyone that's acting kind of out of sorts, making sure that you just let them know that that kind of behavior doesn't work with you. Okay. So that's it. Pretty simple for today. I think the bigger challenge with Seven of Swords, and I usually view it this way, is how can I get real with myself? Because we all do a pretty good job at self-deception, right? Sometimes it's easy just to pretend that things aren't important, but you know that they are. Okay. So next piece, we'll be looking at Monday. We just looked at Sunday. We're at the 7-day forecast for those of you that just joined. On Monday, we have balance. By the way, for those of you that happen to be in another time zone where it's already Monday, this is just reminding you to look back at yesterday, which would be Sunday, and just making sure that you didn't forget something, or you're not trying to kind of sweep something under the rug. Again, it's just, I'm reading it today as getting real with yourself, being honest with yourself. So there's some resource management that has to happen as we're looking at the energy of Monday. The Two of Pentacles is begging you to sort of like really pick something that matters to you and pay attention to that. We see the tightrope dancers here between the two sort of the two cliffs here. So if you spread yourself too thin, you might find that you're in this moment of, how am I going to make this work? You might actually lose your footing. So I'd rather you do much less, but do it better. With the Two of Pentacles, you're usually begged to make a choice. Six of Pentacles, you can balance a bit more. And really almost anywhere else within that sort of suit, you're okay for the most part, once you go from 6 up in particular. But with the Two of Pentacles, you really have to make some choices. So say no, and then really focus on doing something where you can feel like, I see a return on this, whether it's spending time with someone who's appreciative, young or old, doesn't matter. Love or not love related, just something where you feel like, yes, I'm giving and I'm receiving from this exchange. That's the main thing here. Take care of yourself, get some rest, eat well, sleep well. All of those things are really, really important. Okay. All right. So as we look at Tuesday, this is basically begging you to be the one that is taking the sort of driver's seat. So we have the Chariot card. He was reversed, but it's basically saying you always have a chance to sort of redirect and steer wherever you're going. So if you feel like you're kind of going down the wrong path, this is about raising your hand and saying, what are we doing? Or, hey, I need some more information on this, or I'm concerned about this. So because such a big portion of today was about the articulation of Bennu, I hope I'm saying his name right, but that bird from Egyptian mythology. If it was one word could utter, if he could utter one call or one word and create the world, you can change things by just raising your hand, raising your voice and saying, what are we doing? What's going on here? Okay. So this is really about making sure that you use your voice to regain control over something. Also, don't let other people step in and micromanage you. That can be one thing that happens quite a bit with the Chariot in reverse, or any of the kind of power cards in reverse, like the Emperor, Empress. So this typically can be like someone who shouldn't boss you around that comes in anyway. Just someone who has an opinion. So realize everyone has an opinion. If they're not empowered to kind of help you, or they're not responsible for this, you can take it with a grain of salt rather. And the most important thing for you is to stay on path, redirect, and manage yourself and remind them to do the same. Okay. Wednesday's your best day so far. This is when things really come into focus. We have the Princess of Wands, a page in traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So pages are really good at being able to hear, see, and pick up on new things, almost like a satellite. It's also saying that you're kind of positioned very nicely here to do the same for others. So if you want to talk about something, if you want to paint a picture for someone, literally or figuratively, they're going to be able to catch your mental drift. It's a really great day for communication. It's a really great day for getting things done. For a lot of us, this is the last day that we're working before the new year. I happen to be working through the holidays, but I remember when I had a traditional job, Wednesdays kind of winding down, because then it's like New Year's Eve, things kind of, many of you might be traveling for the holidays, etc. So if you need to get anything done, the last good day to really see this happen is Wednesday, at least kind of like getting things in motion. You do have a nice Page of Swords here following in Thursday. So I will say whatever you start, you definitely have a chance to finish. So you have a very productive pre-holiday Wednesday, Thursday. And then as we go towards Friday, this is so appropriate for a holiday. We have like the 3 and the 2 of Cups for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So I like that. So Friday, we have the 3 of Cups, gathering time, having fun. Some of you may be also kind of worried or concerned about getting together. So smaller gatherings are better. I know that I had a family gathering that I had to say no to over the holidays because there were just too many people. So feel free to do that. Everybody has a different comfort level. But do reach out and do something with someone. And that's basically what this card is saying. Make sure, whether it's in person or virtual, you pick up the phone, you Skype, you FaceTime, you Zoom, whatever, whatever technology I missed. Do a little something to ring in the new year with someone and let them know that you love them. Some of you may be just pulling back a little bit. The good news here, though, is that people are very much interested in what you are feeling and thinking and what you want. So any effort that you put out there when it comes to socializing or wanting to connect is very much going to be reciprocated. Probably people will be surprised, pleasantly so, if you reach out. 3 of Cups is an attractive energy. It's a celebratory energy. Some of us might be wondering, because the card is reversed, like, what should we be celebrating? Because there's been a lot of challenges. One of the things, if you're listening to this and you're healthy or you're recovering, is to be grateful that you're going to get to see another year. Health is the most important thing. Wealth comes and goes, and we can manifest it, and sometimes it ebbs and flows, but health, that is so important. Love is really important. Clarity of mind is really important. I think we go back to the basics this year, and before New Year's, before wishing or intending on what it is, let's kind of each day sort of use some gratitude to sort of say, thank you so much for this. Thank you for the clarity here. You can also use gratitude to release old lessons. So maybe we'll see how I feel on social media, but maybe I can remind us a little bit this week to just use gratitude to fine tune and open us up to more abundance. I've talked before about an experience that I had with Archangel Uriel when it came through. It just reminded me to use thanks as much as possible. And when I spoke to a spiritual teacher later, I'm like, did I do something wrong? Because it said, say thank you more. And she said, no, Uriel was teaching you to open your heart, because when you are in a grateful state, the angelic entities can work with you easier because love is their language. And so it made a lot of sense. So if we can get you into that language of love and that frequency of love prior to Friday, things are going to look really good for you. Okay. So be grateful. You could even just reach out to some people and say thanks this week in a different way. It doesn't have to just be in prayer. Okay. Next piece, of course, as we're looking here at Saturday, it's looking great. A little bit more one-on-one here, 2 of Cups. Again, it's all love. That's why I'm talking about it. 3 of Cups and 2 of Cups. So no matter how you slice it, we're seeing love and gatherings and people. So tarot is very spot on when it comes to certain days like this and certain holidays. So this is what I would have expected. Let's talk about a couple things to avoid. On Friday, I want you to avoid gossip. And if you feel like you're left out of something, it might be a blessing. So if people are not inclusive, if they are very much in their own head, or they just don't want to make you be a part of something, then that is also a blessing, because you realize where you stand, who they are, what this is all about. So they're freeing you from having to put too much energy into their sort of, I would say it's kind of like a one-way window where it's just going through, but it's not coming back. So lack of reciprocity. So you're not wasting any time and energy. I'm trying to say it in a nice way, but I'm just going to say it. There are some people in your life that could be just sort of like not an intelligent investment of time and energy. So if they are not including you, then they're not the cool kids. You can find another table to sit at. There's going to be somewhere where people really embrace and see you for who you are, because now you see these other people for their true selves. So avoid gossip, avoid being exclusive, be inclusive instead, and try to have some fun, because there is a little bit of not allowing yourself to play or have fun. So have fun, okay? And then keep it simple on the weekend here as we're looking at Saturday. It's one-on-one. So if there's anyone that you really want to see some movement, some improvement in the relationship, this is really about hanging out with a best friend, hanging out with your dog, or whatever it is, someone or something that really kind of gives back to you. But it's good overall, okay? One thing that's really cool on this image of the Taj Mahal here, we're seeing all these little lilies. I always love it when I see a lily, because they're the most unlikely flowers to kind of come through. They have to go through all of the mud, all of the murkiness to get up to that beautiful, top of the water there. So when we see both the leaves, the lily pads, and then the beautiful sort of lotus blossoms or lily blossoms there, that's basically saying if you can push through some of that difficulty, you're going to see some positive movement in your life. 3 of Cups can call into question loyalties. The 2 of Cups is the resolution of that. Yeah, I'm deciding this is what I want to put my time and energy into. Okay. And then we have a beautiful, beautiful symbol as we're looking at next Sunday into the new year, well into January here. We have the 10 of Wands in reverse. But let's look at this card really up close here. So in the center, we see a figure of a human. We see the scarab beetle here, and it's pushing back 5 wands on each side, a new dawn in the distance. One of the cooler sort of cards. This is why I like True Art Intuitive. Rachel, or whoever illustrated this, did a really good job on picking some of the symbology. This is very phoenix-like, and the dung beetle or the scarab beetle is actually a symbol of reincarnation in ancient Egypt as well. So this is basically saying for you, everything comes into focus. We're setting you into that sort of opportunity so that next weekend, next Sunday, you can step into a new path. So if you're trying to really step into the new year with this feeling of I'm on top of it, this is happening, and I'm really going to make it happen, this is your graduation card. 10 of Wands is saying, I'm done with this and I'm ready for this. It's pushing through that final bit, because we're not yet at another ace, or we're not yet in the court cards, but it's showing you're there. You're nearly there. Normally on the 10 of Wands, you would see someone traveling up the hill, carrying a heavy load and thinking, how much further can I go? So you're nearly there. And this card is saying it's all kind of easy flowing from here. So for any of you that have rode a bike before, an old fashioned one, cycling up the hill is the hardest part, but it's really cool when you get to drift down the hill, right? So sometimes that's that sailing, easy sailing, or kind of like gliding part. That's what I'm seeing this day bringing forth, and hopefully the next week. We'll have to wait until next week's collective to see, but it looks like you're kind of in that that relaxed, easy gliding sort of energy. So I like what we see so far. All right, that is the 7 days. Now let's take a look at your blessings and blocks, and then we'll go into the elements. So I'm going to use the Afro Goddess deck for this portion. So we're going to take a look at blessings and blocks first. So let me actually use whenever I use this deck, I like to actually use the complimentary Aphrodite Oracle deck as well. So we'll use this real quick, and then we'll take a look at what's coming through. Okay, so for blessings and blocks, these are basically things to embrace, things to avoid for the next 7 days. We'll start with a blessing. Your blessing card is, for many of you, you could just feel like you've had enough here. We have the whip card. The whip card is reversed. So for some of us, we're tired of being told what to do. And we're also tired of maybe people abusing power. Definitely that symbol represents that for me. Kind of interesting, not accidental, because we look at the green face and the tendrils here. It's a very sort of Medusa-like image on this one. So I was talking to a family member recently where there was a conversation and they talked about just sort of like freezing up. So have you ever had someone in your life where they say something that just puts you off guard a little bit, or again, they act in such a way that it kind of freezes you? So the blessing this week is, I feel many of you are going to learn what the trigger is. Even though you may think, oh, how did I let that happen? It won't happen again. So with this card reversed, it's understanding what it is. This person isn't going to succeed, by the way. It's a temporary sort of moment where they kind of step in, and I feel like they take advantage of timing or a lack of knowledge or planning or something and try to kind of like insert themselves in a situation. So what you want to do, since you have the blessing of time and knowing about this, is to take a breath and think to yourself, all right, that triggered me. Why did it trigger me? And am I going to let this continue? So you're going to just find your power. It's a reclamation of power, this card. So when it's reversed, someone might be abusing timing, power, situation, opportunity. You're going to take this back and say, no, that doesn't work with me. Okay? That's where this card comes in. You basically see through that facade. Okay? So it's a blessing in disguise. But I definitely see this as someone who might be trying to step in and insert themselves in a situation. Or like I said earlier, if there's a monetary situation where somebody can charge more, do more, they're going to try to do that. So this is kind of like the blessing as you see through it. Sometimes we have to look hard for the blessings and the blessings. And this blessing is that someone acts up in such a way that you see the true colors. For the rest of you, if you don't kind of see that in your life, this is reminding you to take care of yourself. This can just make you just feel like you're kind of like bent over and tired, because the 10 of Wands is a burden card many times, not so much here, but a lot of times it can be just sort of like, I've carried this burden long enough, so you don't have to do it anymore. So you're just going to let it go. You're going to release it. Okay, cool. Let's look at the next thing, which will be the potential block. I feel like we've already come through it. So let's just see if the block is actually a blessing. It makes me laugh. These cards can sometimes be a little bit opposite of what you think, but we can find the blessings in all things. So what's the potential block for you? Okay, it is basically, this is the 10 of Wands without the person climbing it. So if you were to just look at the mountain in the traditional, if you were to look at the 10 of Wands and focus only on the mountain in a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, you would just see, I have to climb this far. If we look at the figure that's climbing up the hill, we realize, wow, I just took one step at a time. And before I knew it, I was half the way, 3/4 of the way, and pretty soon I'm at the top. So one of the important things is maybe not to look up or back so much. I would say it's important for you to focus on what you're trying to accomplish. Kind of keep the final point in your third eye and then focus on what's going on around you. This is sort of like the destination. And occasionally, when you feel like you've made enough progress, take a look at how far you've come. But never let the lack of progress or the sort of like overabundance of work that you have to get hold you from climbing that mountain. Climb every mountain, to quote the Sound of Music, right? That's basically what we see with this. So there's something that needs or wants for you to climb it, like opportunity, like figuratively speaking. So if there's something where you have to go back to school, if there's something where you have to really dig in and do a lot of work, that quote unquote mountain is worth the figurative climb. Okay. So I like that quite a bit. Beautiful cards, beautiful messages. And the mountain to me really symbolizes a big opportunity, a peak. There's a peak at the top of every mountain. So, all right, let's take a look now at the elements. We'll be looking at Earth. Well, I usually do fire, earth, air, and water. So we'll do it in that order just so I can keep track of it. All right, let me shuffle these cards. Like I said, when I get to the Celtic cross, I'll try to pull the camera down. But for this portion, it'll be too much up and down. So just bear with me. So we're going to start with fire. And then we'll move on to Earth. And now we'll do, don't worry, I'll actually go through all of these. I'm just holding them up as I'm pulling them. Fire, Earth, Air, and water. And water oftentimes comes through as water. All right, so let's start first with fire. So fire, this is going to be Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. We have the Two of Swords coming through for all my fire signs. Fire is very strong today because we're looking at Phoenix energy. The Two of Swords can sometimes just be a choice that's difficult to make, where there's not a black and white. So for many of you this week, it's understanding that you're going to have to maybe take a leap of faith and just go in the best direction, given the whatever you have, all the information in front of you. It's upright, so it's asking you to take the blinders off. So sometimes when we know what's coming through with someone or something, we're often thinking to ourselves, how am I going to resolve the way that I thought it should be with the way that it actually is? So sometimes a person comes through in a light that we didn't expect. Maybe we had our heart set on going somewhere, but the more research we do, the more we realize this isn't where I want to live, or this is where I want to travel. It's sort of like additional details that come through that change the color, change the frequency of what it is. So we have to take the blinders off. We have to look a little harder. And then when it comes to making a decision, you know this as you get older, you don't always have a parent to call on. You don't always have a friend to lean on. Sometimes we just have to make a judgment call. So for all of my fire signs, it looks like this week you're just going to be asked to get as much information as possible and take the best leap of faith that you can. You're going to be fine because you're intuitive, because you're tuning in today and thinking about all this stuff, but basically trusting your heart, trusting your third eye, because it's sort of like a stereotype when we look at certain types of science fiction, but a lot of times we'll see the oracle in those movies being blind because sometimes your eyes are a burden to you. So if it's hard, then look in here and look in here, and then trust yourself, okay? Two of Swords to me isn't always as bad as it seems. 2 and 8 and 9 of Swords a lot of times have to do with fear, lack of action, lack of comfort with ambiguity. And so once we overcome those sort of issues, then all of a sudden we have a breakthrough, okay? So I think a breakthrough is around the corner, but you have to move through some of the emotional stuff I just talked about, okay? So again, that's for Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. You can use this for any aspect of your chart. So you can watch all of these elements and apply them as needed. So let's move next to Earth, and we have the jubilation here of the 9 of Cups here. So Earth, of course, being Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Many of you are just really in a good mood this week, but you could also be, this card can ride the ups and downs a little bit. So things can really set you off, inspire you, or kind of like pull you down. So I want you to try to figure out how you can use your creative energy and use some of that passion in a way that doesn't exhaust you and in a way that doesn't pull you away from something that really feels good. So try to rein in that emotion. And if we look here at the 7-day forecast, again, this is specifically for my Earth signs out there. I think Tuesday will be the hardest day probably for many of you. Monday and Tuesday, but Tuesday because it's trying to control something that otherwise doesn't want to be controlled. So try to find a way to ride the energetic wave, to embrace the highs and lows, to have some fun this week as well. This card is very good at kind of tapping into creative energy, okay? Pretty good overall, I have to say. I like this card, whether it's the 2 of Cups, the 3 of Cups, the 9 of Cups, the 6 of Cups. These are very good energies. The 9 just tends to go a little too far. So one last note would be, especially as we're looking at New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, just don't overdo stuff. Don't stay up too late. Don't drink too much. Don't party too much. It's really about pulling things back a bit, okay? This, by the way, I'm going to rewind to fire. There could just be a happy surprise on the horizon for you. One thing that just came through. All right, so again, I was just reading for Earth. So Earth, again, is Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. You want to just sort of channel your energy, not go overboard. But overall, look forward to some good news and some good feels this week. I like what I'm seeing here. All right, we just did fire and Earth. We're going to move on to air. So to air, all of my Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, we have you. How happy am I that actually you got the Queen of Swords? This is a fantastic and auspicious card for you. It feels like you're going to get really real this week, though, because the card was reversed. So we all know the Queen of Swords reversed tends to be to the point. But I love the way this queen is illustrated. She's in control. She's confident. She's not really upset. So I think for many of us, we're just going to say what we need to say and get some stuff done. She's very action oriented. So I love that she's carrying a spear here too. So she's going to fight for what matters. She's going to get stuff done, and she's going to say something, even if it's not popular. I would say the only time you want to be cautious of this one, of course, is on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But aside from that, I think this is a really good card that is going to help you get stuff done. So this is a good time for you to put pen to paper. Look at your finances, pay bills, sign or negotiate a contract. Remembering what I said, not to be taken advantage of. Go back to the drawing board if you need to. And if you have to fight for anything and have to verbally sort of put yourself out there, she is this is like the best card that you could put for that, being able to really be in control. So I think that all my air signs, you have a great week ahead. Just try to remember how powerful your words are, how much people listen to them. And sometimes when you're saying something and just maybe talking off the top of your head, it may really sit with someone. So that's all. Measure your words a bit and understand their weight. But otherwise, it's going to be a really busy, really productive week. And you're in a very powerful position. Anytime I see King or Queen of Swords coming through for air, it's good. It's you. Okay. Say no if you need to. Just like if Justice was in reverse, she comes through to get real and basically say, I want this or I don't want this. So no sort of kid gloves. Get in and get out of sort of a negotiation or conversation or whatever. But once you do that, things sit in a really good place. All right, let's look at water, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. You have the Queen of Cups. Equally as happy to see this one coming through for you because you're represented with this one. Interestingly enough, she's on an island, and we talked about Bennu, the sort of like phoenix type bird that helped with creation. It landed on a little, or she's on a rock maybe too. It landed on a rock like she's on and started to say what it needed to say. So you have the same communicative energy here. The difference is you may show it more than sort of like verbally putting everything out there. So maybe there's different ways to express it or sort of like put out your sort of thoughts and energy. So I think that's a really important piece here. So I like that. Good day or a good week for all of you with relationships. You're in a sort of powerful position when it comes to sitting at a negotiation table. I think that people are going to be more open to what you have to say. They're listening to you a little bit more. So this is really, really great. Okay. So Queen of Cups energy saying, I'm open, I'm ready, let's get going. And I like what I'm seeing here. Okay. Really positive. Let me see if there's anything else that we need to talk about with this. Last thing on the Queen of Cups here is just, are you ready to receive? I love that she's really holding that chalice or that cup out there and saying, look what I have to offer. I'm here. I'm ready. Let's get going on this one. So your passion, your sort of presence and your sort of availability and engagement is going to be really important. So people can only connect with you if you're willing and able to kind of also receive. So that's the only thing that can hold you back. So again, just a quick summary. Fire could be a happy surprise, could be a decision that needs a leap of faith. Open up your heart, open up your third eye. It's going to help you figure that out. Earth, we're going to be looking at managing how to just sort of ride the emotional wave, looking for some good news, not overdoing anything this week. Easy does it. Looking at air, stepping into your power, saying what needs to be said, doing what needs to be done, making sure that when you speak, though, that you know that your words do carry weight. So make sure that you're not just casually saying things, knowing that, again, thinking of how the other person might be receiving it. Cups feels like you have one of the water, and with the Queen of Cups here, looks like you have a really great week ahead of you. A lot of receptive energy. It's just a matter of, do you want what's coming to you? As a queen, you get to choose. Is this something that feels right? Does it feel balanced to me? Okay. So I really like what I'm seeing here. I'm going to give you a chance now to vote on a topic. So let me grab my keyboard and we'll do that. And then we'll get into the special topic today. So as I'm looking at all of these sort of energies for the week ahead, one thing that I'm focusing on here is the word fatigue comes to mind for next Sunday, because I saw the 10 of Wands. So let me create a poll here and I'll add some options here. So the first thing that I would say for the viewer's choice is managing energy / avoiding fatigue. So that's the first thing that I'm seeing here. As I'm looking at the cards in front of me, honesty and transparency is coming through as well with the 7 of Swords. So that's what we're going to write, honesty and transparency. Might be having a conversation about it. Might be something else. We'll let the cards come through. The other thing here was not stopping in your like dead in your feet, because again, I can't stop looking at this sort of Medusa thing here. So I would say for those of you, how to overcome a sort of like a block, overcome a mental block, because I think that's what's going to happen. Someone could kind of step in and mentally block you. So let's go ahead and put that out as a viewer's choice poll. And while you do that, I'm going to grab a drink of water, and then we'll pull an extra card here in just a moment. I'm going to give Apollo a little treat because he's hanging out here while we're doing that. So a reminder here that, again, what we're looking at right now can be all signs. All right, so let's see where we're at. I'm going to give you another moment here while I'm waiting for you to vote. We're going to pull one card, which is going to be a wild card for you. So for the wild card this week, we have a very interesting Seven of Wands. So I don't think I've actually pulled this one yet in the deck here. So this is someone being caught by surprise. And by the way, I'm going to have to take Apollo on a little walk here after this, and I will do that for him. So we have the Seven of Wands here coming through, which is saying, let's make sure that you are not, if you are caught by surprise, what you want to do is push back and ask for a little extra time, a little bit of extra preparation. So say, thank you so much for bringing that forward to me. I need some time to think about that. I need some time to prepare. So push back, because there is a pushback energy with the Seven of Wands. And basically you need to do that as necessary. So like I said, I will be taking care of my puppy here in just a moment here. But for the Seven of Wands, you need to make sure that you are prepared, that you are open, and that you are not afraid to sort of say, hey, I understand that this is something that is going to be, urgent to you, but I have something that's urgent to me. Okay. So let's take a look now at your final, the one that you just asked me, rather, overcoming the mental block is winning. So let's take a look at that. And then while I take a walk with Apollo for like 1 minute, you can vote on the deck for the special topic. All right, so for this one, overcoming a mental block. All right, we have the Ace of Cups here in reverse. So the Ace of Cups in reverse is, for many of you, it's kind of like what we were talking about with all of those energies previously, which are like when we were looking at the Seven of Cups, or I'm sorry, the Nine of Cups, the Three of Cups, the Two of Cups. A lot of these were in reverse, or there's heavy energies this week. Your mental block could be that the heart is telling me, do I deserve this? Do they really want me? There could be this sort of internal lack of faith or clarity that's going on. So what you really want to be focusing on with this is saying, yeah, I'm ready to receive this. And if you're standing in that Medusa moment where someone's shutting you down, what you want to do is breathe, center yourself emotionally and energetically, and then don't let the emotional trigger pull you off your balance, right? Because that's exactly what they want to do. They want you to kind of lose focus. So what you're going to do is regain focus by pulling yourself back in your body for just that moment and think, do I really want to allow that energy to come into my body? Do I really want to receive what they're sending me? Because if not, what you can emotionally and energetically do is return to sender. And that's basically what we see. So your wild card this week is pushback is needed. You'll be okay. This is actually a card of being able to juggle pretty well, but push back if you need to. And then the next thing is, I don't need to take what you're giving to me. So sometimes people just want to put their dirty laundry on us. And in this case, you're going to say, you know what? That's your dirty laundry. I don't have to deal with that in this moment in time. I'm going to really focus on my own happiness, my own health, and I'm going to push back on that. So let's select some decks here that you can vote on while I quickly walk my puppy. Puppy always takes priority. So we'll I'll walk him for 1 minute, but I'll let you vote while I'm doing that. And I'll try to see today if I can use one of my smart devices to talk to you while I'm walking him. So I'm going to give you a few choices for some decks today. I'm going to use Aphrodite as one of them. We'll put Modern Witch maybe. We'll do the Light Seers. And let me just go over here and pick one that I haven't used in a while. Let's see. maybe this one because it's really pretty. So I think this is Prisma. So let me go ahead and put this up here, and then I'm going to walk my puppy, and then we will be back. Oh, Raven. I saw Raven coming through. I could swap out Raven for Modern Witch since it's very close to Afro Goddess. So I'll take that. That's one that hasn't gotten a lot of opportunity. So good suggestion. All right. So let me go ahead and put this poll live, and then I'll walk my puppy. All right. So we're going to give you a choice today. So choose a deck while I walk Apollo. All right. The choices are Afro Goddess. The second one is Raven's Prophecy. The next one is the Light Seers Tarot. And the next one would be the Prisma Visions. Okay, so there you go. Give me a second here, and I'm going to see if I can get the this to kind of work here, because I have a smart device here. So I'm going to put you on mute, and then I'm going to try to call myself so I can chat with you while I'm walking my dog. All right, it doesn't look like I can make this work, so I'm just going to walk the puppy, and I'll be right back. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. For those of you with dogs, you understand. Let me just give him a little treat for being a good boy. There you go, buddy. Good job. Thank you. All right. Let's take a look. Raven's Prophecy, very cool. So sorry to keep those of you waiting. I saw I've lost a bunch of viewers. That sucks, but it is what it is. I will always prioritize Apollo over a few viewers here, so thank you. He's a pretty awesome dog, I have to say. I got him as a rescue, and you never know when you get a rescue how they're kind of trained, but he's really good. Like you saw what he did. He'll go right by the door if he needs to go for a walk, so I can't ignore that. I have usually like 2 minutes from the time that I see that to get him outside. So thanks, everybody. Much appreciated. All right. So let me try turning the camera down here for a moment, and we'll take a look and see what's coming through for you. Buddy. Lots of treats for Apollo. All right. Let me see if I can get the right sort of trajectory on this one. Yeah, I have a new setup here, and this tripod's not the greatest, so let me just see if I can tighten it a bit. There we go. Okay, so thanks for giving me a second. I'm going to catch my breath while I get this set up, and then we will go to the next step. All right, so we'll be looking at the special topic today, which again is going to be stepping into the energy of the Phoenix, specifically looking at being able to reinvent, have that sort of rebirth moment coming through. This is for everyone that's present. Thanks to all of you that stuck around. Hopefully anyone that stepped away will be able to watch it on replay. For any of you that follow my social media, you know that I love Apollo like he is a little baby. So yeah, I would always prioritize that over a live feed. So thank you for your patience. All right, catching my breath here. Let's take a look real quick at your cards. Don't worry if you're missing anything. I'll pull each and every one of these up to the camera afterwards. Okay, we actually had a couple cards fall out. I normally don't take them, but we're just going to take those because they actually flew out, and I love the Egyptian mythology on this one, so we'll just go with what came. Let's see, which deck did this fly out of? Okay, so we'll use this deck instead. Let's see, Gateway card, this is the next one. You actually have the decks are kind of like alive today, so lots of energy coming through in today's reading. All right, let me get this camera back into the proper position. Thank you all for your patience. I kind of did this as a, now I understand. New tripod, new setup. I'm like, how do I get this to work? So let me just kind of like readjust that up here so you're not looking so far down the, there we go. I think we're back in our normal focus and setup. Thank you for giving me a moment or two to get everything set up. Let's get everything in the room here the way it should be. All right, let's take a nice deep breath together. I know I could use it. Back into the reading. All right, thanks everybody. So we have concentration, how appropriate, Ganesha. This is your catalyst that really helps you into this energy of change. So just like I did, take a deep breath, figure out like what it is you're trying to do. Ganesha is the god that comes in and helps us get past any of the blocks that we might have in our life. And one of the things here that he's really reminding us to do is to keep, like I said, here and here, that sort of focus. The more we can concentrate on something, the more that we see what's available to us, the more that we're really able to bring it into fruition. A lot of times we lack the focus, we lack the concentration to bring it through to the finish line. Come here, Apollo. It's like, I need more than just a couple snacks. Normally I feed him a full meal after a walk, so Just giving him a couple snacks while we're doing this. All right, so concentration, something that I'm being tasked with kind of regaining right now is just that. Sometimes you have to pause and regroup. So do that as necessary. Even Ganesha has someone here that he has to tend to as well. So for some of you, the concentration could be children. I have a dog, as you can see, they're just like having a kid. They require love, they require care, you can't get upset. So you may have that kind of energy in your life where you're trying to figure out how to balance it. So if you do, you'll figure out how to make that work. For the rest of you, there could even be specifically something as real as ADHD going on, where you're trying to figure out, like, how can I really get where I need to be mentally? So take out some of the extraneous things in your life, whether it's television or some of the other distractions that are coming through, and really try your best to kind of limit that. That's going to help you stay on track. Let's go into the center here. Ace of Swords here. So Ace of Swords, I like this one because it is actually an open hand. We see the sword more as a sort of like tattoo, less as kind of being part of this. So in Rider-Waite-Smith decks, usually you would see ace cards being handed to you. So a pentacle and an outreaching hand, a chalice being held, a sword being presented. This one is reaching out for what it wants. So it's kind of like a different, very different take on Rider-Waite-Smith, which is I'm going to be the creative force. I'm going to, even if there's no sword, I'm going to forge the sword. I'm going to reach for the sword, etc. So this is very much an active Ace of Swords. So again, just to kind of like refocus this, since I had to take a brief break, for those of you that just joined, we're looking at how to step into Phoenix-like energy. In other words, what can I do if I've failed? What can I do if there's been a setback? What can I do if there's been a delay? The first thing that you're going to do is really reach out and say, well, I'm not going to wait for something to come to me. I'm going to reach out for something. I'm going to start the phone call, start the email chain, make it happen, basically here, okay? So you are an agent of change. You are a connection to that sort of energy of change, so make it work. We have Temperance on top of this. One step at a time, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We actually see a slowed down water droplet on here. For those of you that have had to watch water boil at some point, right? This is kind of the patience that we're often tasked with, right? So it's sort of like, oh, how long? We can't always see what's going on unless we slow things down a little bit. So Temperance is this interesting piece which says, if you can just take the deep breath, if you can just look at it from a different perspective, if you can regain your concentration, I'm proof that you can do that, then you're going to start to see things move in a really positive trajectory. But we don't always get the slow motion, right? We don't always see that little water droplet. And also, if we were to think in a different way, there was an old song like for Death Cab for Cutie when they were talking about like an ocean filling up one droplet at a time. Transcendentalism, I think it was, or something. But I kind of like the imagery, like what if there was like, what was there before the oceans? And so each thing had to kind of start with a little droplet at a time. So, you know, a puddle becomes bigger and bigger, and then pretty soon you have a flood of energy. Some of you may just be at that initial drop phase, right? So if you are, this is saying one drop at a time, it aggregates, it creates something bigger in the long term. And yeah, transatlanticism, thank you. Transatlanticism. It's on the album that has the bird on the cover of it. It's a really good song. So anyway, patience and keeping focus on the aggregate energy. Drop by drop, bit by bit, things are happening. And you're the one that's kind of reaching out and creating that change drop by drop, okay? We have the Emperor card here in the deep past. The Emperor card is reminding you that you've worked hard to get where you're at. And even if you're not the one that's kind of like at the top of the hill right now, everybody gets their moment to kind of shine. Sometimes you're in a situation where people are afraid of you being who you are. So it's sort of like, if you're a very strong energy, very sort of like a force to be reckoned with, there are certain, if we kind of go back to the pond metaphor, you're like a big fish in a small pond. So it might be time for you to find a place where you can swim a little bit more, where you can be yourself, because it feels like you already have the requisite energy to be a ruler, to be the emperor, okay? So this is about reaching out, finding another place to sort of really kind of sit and be yourself. We have the Queen of Wands coming through here. And this, my friend, is what we talked about with the Phoenix energy, personified, really, especially the Egyptian goddess that I was talking about. So words breathe life and energy into something. What you say, just like, especially from also my air signs out there, the Queen of Swords, when we had the Queen of Swords reversed, she has the same energy as this too. So whether it's Queen of Wands or Queen of Swords, the way that it's communicated is a little differently. Queen of Swords, which came through again for my air signs, is just about saying it. Queen of Wands can be demonstrating it, showing it. So don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. That's what the Queen of Wands is saying. And then when and if you choose to say something, it's even more powerful because some of you may hold back a little bit. So really choosing your moment to shine wisely and then embodying it. It can't just be talk. Then it's just like, it's a lot of hot air, right? So don't just be the hot air, be following through on that, really be showing all of your potential, okay? The other thing with Queen of Wands, it's a different illustration, so I have to kind of like rewind in my head and think of Rider-Waite-Smith too. So of all the queens, she's one of my favorites because she has the ability to take you by surprise. She is a very crafty, very intuitive, very magical queen. Each queen has their sort of particular special essence, and hers is that element of surprise and the ability to kind of, she has the energy of magic and miracles with her. So I would, and of course she's fiery. So I would like to have this when we're looking at Phoenix energy. So really see it and feel it and embody it. And when you demonstrate it, when you kind of do that, you'll find a way to make it happen. If there's something you truly care about, there's almost no reasonable thing that you wouldn't, reasonable length that you wouldn't go to make it happen. So if there's something that you really, really want to see happen in your life, then go for it, like full on. And that's what she's saying too. What a great card here in your crowning position. We have the World, super expansive, different kind of idea here because we have highways and byways kind of crisscrossing each other. And so for some of you, you may just be at this crossroads, which personified itself at the beginning of the week with the Two of Swords, right? Or for some of you, I guess it was actually like fire came through with the Two of Swords. But for many of you, there's not a wrong path. You just have to find the path that's there for you. The World card in a traditional sense is about going beyond what you thought a limit could or should be. It's expansion, it's publication, it's distribution. So in a word, 2 words, think bigger. Expansive would be the word that I would use for this one, but think bigger than you did before and go further or farther than you thought you could. And that's how this next step is going to happen. It may not be where you're at. So if this may require you to either move or reach out beyond the borders. But the big piece of this, if we look at not looking so much at borders, but what the world means is expansion, reaching other people. What we're doing here today, where there's sort of like this global village of all of us gathering today, this is the world in a very different form. I don't think that if we went back to like, ancient Rome or anything, they would even think any of this was possible, but it is. We're all here from different points of the world talking together. I think that's kind of cool. So think about different methods that you could achieve what it is that you want to do, but a move could be possible. Some of you are ready to take a really big leap of faith. It could be marriage, it could be divorce, it could be moving to a new place, it could be a new job, but like a big life changes on the horizon, and that's what's kind of opening up for the year ahead. And that's emphasized by the next card, which is the Fool, right? So the Fool card is basically taking a leap, not overthinking things. We don't have the little dog in this card. Apollo's now sleeping in the corner, very happy. But the dog energy normally is a warning. If you ever look at a traditional Fool card, it's kind of tugging at the pant leg or shoe of the Fool character, saying, wait a second, take a look before you leap. This one is kind of saying, I'm ready, I'm beyond that. There's no fear. I'm just ready to kind of take the leap. I've done the work. So it does feel like it's overdue. And these cards together are bookends, right? We got the World and we have the Fool, 2 different ends. So an end and a beginning. And this is super Phoenix energy. This is exactly what I would expect. The only thing that's missing, I'm looking to see if it's here. We don't have death, or we don't have judgment. We do have death. So you got all of the sort of requisite things that I would have thought would come through for this. So at the end of one journey comes the next. So if you're quitting a job, if you're leaving a relationship, if you're stepping away from something, there's freedom and there's opportunity. If you're stepping into something, it's a new journey. It's a new adventure for you as well. Okay. I like both of these cards. but are you ready to take the trip? Are you ready to do it? Sometimes this path can be a little bit isolating. It can feel like it's a little bit lonely, right? So this is just about remembering why you're going there, where you're going there. We have the mountains in the distance. You know, we looked at that card earlier with the mountain. So for some of you, you're just approaching that next step, which is going to require a little bit extra work, a little bit of a push. Let's look at how you're showing up. When I look at the ego card here, guess what I have? Success, 6 of Wands. It's kind of almost aligned to the chakra points in the body too with this one. But what I would say for you is success is within. It's not an external thing. It's not necessarily a trophy that you put on your mantle. Those are nice and it may happen. But the thing with the 6 of Wands is it's reminding you to really focus on, why am I doing this? I'm not going to let the experience of being in front and center, whether it's success or sometimes even just accountability, because 6 of Wands can just be you being thrust into the public. So can the World card. So it feels like you're being encouraged to kind of step into a more visible role than you did before. And I would say, so far, so good. Don't overthink it. 6 of Wands, you can be most successful in 6 of Wands in the world when you're just an amplified version of your authentic self. When you try to project an expected version of yourself, then you're putting on a facade, and the facade usually gets pushed through because people are intuitive or people dig. So just be yourself. If you're yourself and you're authentic and you're just kind of amplifying it, like I'm using kind of like a microphone metaphor here where you amplify the signal, that's all it is. I have to have a mic here so you can hear me better. Same sort of thing. That's all we're doing is taking the authentic voice and magnifying it a bit and you'll be fine. Okay. But ultimately I think it's a combination. Some people are expecting you to succeed and you also have a high expectation for yourself to be there. So don't push yourself to the point of exhaustion. Don't take criticism too much to heart. Just take everything with a grain of salt and figure out how to apply it. All right. When we're looking in the environment, got another ace for you here. And we have a nice fiery ace here with the Ace of Wands. So for this, if you feels like some of you may be handed or maybe reaching for an opportunity, but what happens really quickly is, again, it's walking the walk and talking the talk. You have to do a little bit of both. But if you start down a path, you're going to find that quickly resources may come in, support may come in, and also for anybody that's ever started a fire, whether you're using, flint or whatever, or if you're just using a match and some paper, it takes a little bit of work. You got to breathe into it initially and help the wood catch fire, right? So you might be at that kindling state where you're trying to get the fire started. But the good news when I'm looking at your environment is there's a lot of resources to fan the flame of that fire. So it feels like the most important messages so far are speaking up, being able to sort of to visualize this and just get moving. The movement will start that sort of fanning of the flames. So no delay. This isn't the time to delay. When we expand the forecast in a moment, we'll get some more clarity on all of this, but it's looking really good here. All right. Again, coming through, different deck here, 9 of Cups. The 9 of Cups is in hopes, fears, and opportunities. The card is reversed, but this feels very much like Los Angeles today, where our weather was just breaking from a few days of rain. So we had a lot of rain just prior to Christmas, and then today it finally broke through, and we kind of have this as a cloud break. More than that, because it actually stopped raining. So 9 of Cups can be like this sometimes. There can be a lot of heavy energy. And just like the precipitation, that's why I kind of like that they show the clouds clearing. We have to move through it. So for you, the one thing that could, again, it keeps coming through again and again, could be clouding your vision is some of you may have put grief under the rug for a bit. And it's just like, I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it later. Right now, you have to deal with whatever it is that you are letting go of. A job can be grief, right? Some of you may have lost property. Maybe there was like a fire or a flood or something like that. It doesn't have to be a person. We can lose a thing or a habit or something that brought us comfort. The cards are basically saying when you mourn the death of that, then something can come in its place. We do have death here in the final space here. It is reversed. The interesting thing with this particular death card is it has the king's crown. And when we look at the deep past, we also see the crown and the sword here. So it's kind of like the king is dead, long live the king. There's always going to be another opportunity. So you are the emperor. You are that figure where it's sort of like the old you is dead, the new you is alive. So you're not, it's just sort of a figurative transformation. So when you around the idea that I'm not really gone, I'm not really forgotten, that piece of me really still exists in a different frame or a different realm, then I'm okay with it, because I'm just kind of like moving, adjusting, changing. Okay. It does feel like there's some stagnation in some of your lives. So this could be a relationship or a job where you're just not seeing the growth that you want to see. And this is your opportunity to release it. So if you don't grow, then you just, if you're not moving, you're not growing. That's a better way to look at it. Same thing that, a long time ago, it feels like it's been a year since I've done it, but there was a totem, the bonsai, which I think is a beautiful art form. But it is basically about holding back growth on something. So a bonsai tree, the roots are pruned, the branches are pruned, and the pot is smaller, much smaller than it should ever be. And that permanently keeps something in a stunted state. So this death card is basically saying it would be the reverse of that. Let's let your roots really kind of like flow and dig in. Let's let your branches go. It's taking flight. But you have to let go of something. You have to break that pot basically and put it in the ground and allow it to really grow. So for some of you, I actually read up on it. It's a little difficult. If you take a tree like that, you would have to kind of like graduate it slowly into bigger pots before you just put it in the ground, because it could go into shock. So some of you could just be in that adjustment period, just like a bonsai. So if you wanted to allow it to grow, you got to slowly give yourself more and more freedom, and then eventually just let your roots and your branches and everything grow. So I kind of like that metaphor a bit. Okay. This is especially true for those of us that have been it can be like relationships that are codependent, maybe even abusive, definitely job situations where things are happening like that. So in those places where we've been systematically pushed down for a while, this is saying you're going to be fine, but you do have to just give yourself that adjustment period. All right, let me take another drink, and then let's look at your expanded forecast, looking at health, wealth, love, and destiny. We'll start with your health card. The health card, I got to put my glasses on for this one, and my glasses are in the other room, so I'm just going to read it. It says, the miracle of nature. Thank you, angels, for helping me to reconnect through nature and fresh air. So for many of you, you just need to step outside, change the environment a little bit, right? I would say for some of you, especially with all of those of us that have kind of been stuck in a virtual office space, make sure that you're taking time in the day to just get outside and take a 15-minute walk. Change also the physical sort of environment around you. So if you're working at home, one thing that I was doing just last week, I'm going to continue doing it this week. I started to restructure like workspace and like cleaning some of the closets and everything. So one thing is just sort of environment, because that nurtures you. And the other thing here, we're looking at the message here, which is really about nature. So make sure that you are getting into a different environment, one that allows you to thrive. And even if it's cold, like yesterday when it was raining, I have to take my dog for a walk every single day, whether it's sunny or snowy or rainy or not. So get outside. I did feel invigorated even when it was cold. Even just this little walk that I took, I have more energy than I did prior to the walk. So getting the blood moving is a very important thing. So I think allowing that to happen will be helpful. We also have a miracle word here, miraculous sort of energy. So if you're approaching some sort of a setback or a challenge in your health, then I think you have this chance to surprise yourself. When you start to embrace this idea that I think I can do better, I think I can surprise people, I'm going to give this another shot. Okay. So let me look specifically at the cards, and we'll move on to the next one. So card messages here. It might be time to just logistically move. This is probably more attuned to those of you that might be in an apartment or have been thinking of selling your house or something. I did get that would be good. This definitely is a good seller's market. So good time for doing something like that. You may also be wanting a place where you just have more variety, more people that you can kind of connect with. So getting out in the world or changing environments so that there's a more diverse sort of cast of people around you. All of that's part of this as well. Other things, taking a walk. Just obviously, each of us is in a different part of our health journey. So standard disclaimer with this card is always that you have to work with your doctor and listen to your body. But The Fool card is just about stretching, walking, doing yoga and Pilates and things like that. Very sort of gentle energy. You don't have to use weights or anything like that, but just moving. I was listening to NPR the other day, and they were talking about the fallacy that a lot of people have where, you know, I'm going to work out for an hour on some sort of a elliptical or treadmill or gym or whatever. The rest of the day, I'm doing nothing. Your body reacts a lot nicer if every couple of hours you're taking a walk or a break or stretching, because it wasn't meant to sort of like do big bursts of energy and then just sit. So move out that sort of like workout routine, and it might be more advantageous to do like bursts of 20, 20, 20, 20 rather than 1 hour. Obviously, again, talk to your trainer, talk to your doctor, do what's right for your body, but making sure that there's not like periods of lots of activity and stagnation. Some of you may have had a close brush with some sort of a health call, whether it's a brush with death or just a wake-up call where the doctor said, your blood pressure is too high, or you have to change what you're eating, or we want to see this so that you avoid this kind of family marker. Pay attention to that if you need to. Stagnation is the number one thing that's holding all of you back from being able to do what you need to do. So move your body, move your mind, move those sort of things forward. Let me just grab my glasses, which I left in the other room because I might need it for some of these cards. Let's see. All right, so that was your message for health. Overall, pretty good. The other thing that I have to kind of focus on here is the concentration card. So with the concentration card, it can be, again, ADHD. It could also just be figurative, saying that, you know, some of you have just a lot that's on your plate. So this is encouraging you not to overdo things too much. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at wealth. So we have two messages coming through here. We have Paul the Venetian, experiencing grace. And this was some of what we were talking about this week, being just saying, thank you for this experience, etc. Share your gifts with grace, waves of inspiration and love are coming to you. So the card was reversed, but let's look at him upright. The reason this could be reversed is sometimes people may just have a hard time saying thank you to you. There may not be a lot of leading by example with this from others. So you might have to be the one that is leading with grace. That's going to help you. And in wealth, this is going to set you up as a person who is kind, who is thoughtful, who really cares, all of that. And then we have Horus coming through, cosmic gateways. It says your thoughts are magnetic and powerful. Miraculous changes are occurring. Has to start within. And this is so important when it comes to changing the way you're working, changing the way people are perceiving you. It all begins within here and within here. So Horus, the cosmic gateway, saying exactly what we were talking about with the other bird that I mentioned, the phoenix. What was it called again? Bennu. So basically, this is the same sort of energy of that. Creation begins with the thought, with this idea that I can do more, but you have to have that idea, okay? Let's look specifically at some of the messages around wealth. If you're not expanding, what are you doing? Because the world card in your crowning position is really saying it's time to do that. Again, a sort of calculated leap of faith coming through with the Fool as well. Let me see what else we've got here. And again, I do feel like it's time for some of you just to like release something in your life. All of that looks good. If you want to start something new, if you're going to be entrepreneurial, well, you definitely have that in your deep past with the Emperor card. It's supported by the Ace of Swords, but you have to reach out. Don't wait for someone to come to you. For those of you that, like me, I wrote a book over a year ago and self-published it. There was a point at which I kind of got tired of dealing with agents. And to their credit, with the pandemic, they were inundated. They had like thousands and thousands of inquiries, and there was just no way that they could actually take on new clients. They couldn't even read the queries. So there was a choice, do I wait or do I move forward? So I moved forward in the middle of a pandemic and self-released a book. But that was me reaching out, not waiting, because I didn't want to wait until 2022, 3, 4 for them to get back to my emails. So there may be something for you where you have to decide, I've waited long enough, now I'm going to do this on my own. Or I've waited long enough for this person, I'm going to reach out to that person. If somebody isn't calling you back, they're not interested. And they're not the right conduit, okay? You have the ability to create some traction on your own, okay? Let me see if there's anything else. I think this is pretty much it. I mean, I have to say most of the energy around reinvention is pretty good right now. The main thing is you have to just start the movement. So any movement is better than none whatsoever when we're looking at January. So that would be my key sort of energy. And then really believing in that as well when we're looking at the Horus Gateway, okay? Let me mention one more thing. And I'm going to just clarify it right now. So why don't we have any pentacles here? So I'm just going to pull a clarifying. I rarely do that, but I feel inspired to do it for you today. So let's just pull a clarification card and see if there's anything around resources. Three of Wands, it'll be fine. The Three of Wands is showing that things are already starting to happen. Look at this. So those palm trees. Looks like they are. Yeah. It looks like they've got like 3 different palm trees here. So anyway, what I was going to say with the Three of Wands here, a lot of times we can't see what's going on around us because it's in the periphery. The same way I had to kind of keep an eye on my puppy a few moments back. I could, even though it's kind of blurry here, I'm like, he's right by the door. Pay attention to what's going on around you. There's a sign or a symbol that's kind of begging for your attention. So pay attention to it. And also pay attention to what people are saying, because we have the raven here in the corner. So there are messages incoming, there's movement that's happening, and it's probably very subtle movement. Just like when we go back to the Temperance card, once that aggregate energy comes through, then we're basically saying, okay, yes, it's happening bigger. And yes, Horus is great because it's a energy of death and rebirth again. So big sort of, I can't figure out how many different ways we can get reincarnation or rebirth today. It's coming through in almost all the cards. So you definitely have the ability to bounce back or try something different. Okay. Next card here is Vishnu, balance. Sometimes I wish I had more than one set of hands to get everything done. So this is in relationships. This is in love. So for many of you right now, relationships will either throw you out of balance or help you achieve the perfect balance, right? So I think for many of you, you have to figure out, how do I feel about this connection that I have with someone? Relationships, again, can be sort of broadly painted here. They don't have to just be you being in love with someone else. It can also be sort of just a traditional work relationship or something of that nature. So if you're focusing on that right now, the question is, does this add stability, foundation, or does it bring me out of balance? Particularly when we're looking at how this helps you get to the next big thing in your life. If you're trying to bounce back from something, we all know that there are friends out there that we can really, really trust. You could call them at 10 o'clock at night. It's not going to be a problem. Then there are other people that are fair weather friends. So this is going to kind of come through in a sort of bolt of clarity, who it is that you can trust and who brings that true balance and clarity in your life. All right, let's look at relationships across a spectrum like I normally do. For those in a relationship, seeking a relationship, or not seeking a relationship, either just disconnected and happy. I'm not going to kind of call it like in love, because when we look at these timeless readings, it's not so much about love. You might be trying to find the relationship to help you finish a project. You might be trying to find someone to help give you some support or insight. You might be looking for love. Either way, relationships are relationships. So I'm going to read the energy of those relationships. You can apply them as needed. So focusing on existing relationships first. Arguably, everybody can look at this, but this is for think of the person that matters the most in your life, or the one you're fixated on the most right now. What I'm picking up on here is communication is key, and you may have to be the initiator. How are you doing? How are you feeling? What do you think about this? You might also want to share with them your ideas and then say, I'd love your insights, or can I count on your support? Reach out. You're the instigator on that. Patience is also really, really important with the two of you. You may be frustrated with a lack of progress on one side or the other. So communicating about desires and goals, common goals, super important. This is a period in time where it's either going to expand or disappear. So this is expansion, and this is walking out in a new path. This can be getting married, this can be separating, but this is typically not just sort of like the status quo. So it's expanding or it's independent. And I feel like that's a big and important piece in existing relationships. What's the next level for that? There also could be a level of an element of travel that's coming in for some of you. And it could be a feeling, maybe you're enjoying it. Some of you might be enjoying it if you're either traveling or having the place to yourself. But there is this sort of like, how do we keep the connection if that distance exists? Because there is a risk with that things could kind of like stagnate a bit. Ultimately, it does feel like if you put your energy in the right places, there is success to be had. And I like what I'm seeing. Really important to make time to be close to each other. This isn't just about sex, because again, if it's a a different type of relationship like business. This is just about the importance of face-to-face conversations. But being close enough to touch or feeling like you have that connection that's showing up is basically what we're seeing here. And then for those of you that are married, it may be making time for intimacy. Overall, looks pretty good, but there is this sort of question, are we going to the next level or is this just stagnating? Okay, so it can go either direction based on what you want. For those of you looking to make a key relationship connection, here's what's coming through for you. Again, don't be afraid to be the one reaching out, because we actually see someone in the environment that's receptive. We see the fire and the sort of passion here in the environment. Someone's looking up to you. They may put you on a pedestal. This could be difficult for you because if you make a mistake, you're scrutinized a little more. You could also be putting someone else on a pedestal. So you just want to be aware of realistic expectations. Everyone's human. And it's not about the mistakes that they make. It's how they recover, and it's how much accountability they take for those mistakes. I think those are the important pieces. Those are the main things here. You could be pulling in someone from a much different background than you, different country, different social or economic background. And again, that could be a lot of fun. It could be an exciting journey. The energy that's coming through is very fiery, not a big surprise since we're looking at the Phoenix, because we got the Queen of Wands, we have the Ace of Wands here. So a lot of fiery energy coming through. I like that. And a lot of passion. So if you're looking for a new sort of connection, it feels like you need to have that chemistry. Without the chemistry, it sort of begs the question, what's going on here? Past life energy. This is playing both the role in current and new relationships. Karma. Whenever I see judgment or death, it usually shows you've had at least a lifetime with somebody. So as someone comes in karmically into your life, the big question is, have we sorted out the old lessons? How do I feel once we've sorted out the lessons? And I think you kind of have that opportunity to get beyond karma and then decide what you want to build. Until the karma is released, you're still dealing with those old lessons and those old parts of yourself. And for many of you, it's just, there's a lot of energy coming through. 9 of Cups. So it could just be sink or swim or hot or cold. And this is really about making sure that you let the other person know that you kind of can't deal with that completely on or completely off sort of energy. Looks good. Okay, so now let's take a look at those of you that are single and happy or unattached or not focusing on making connections. The good news for you is I feel like a lot of productive energy can be done. This is great for writing or producing. This is great for thinking. This is great for managing and overseeing. So all of these cards show me that whatever you put your mind to, once you can concentrate, lots of progress, lots of action. If you were trying to finish a project right now, this is a good time to pitch it to other people. Really good time. But think bigger, because the world card was literally in the headspace. So you may only see a small application, but there's a much larger application. There's a much larger universe or much larger paycheck that could be attached to this. So think bigger. Also look beyond. So if you are looking to hire someone or connect with someone, find an app or find a way that you can reach people from other parts of the world. Okay. And again, karma's coming through for everybody, past life energy. All right. So overall, pretty good. But remember, all relationships must help you achieve the balance. They shouldn't be setting that balance topsy-turvy. Okay. Let's move on to your destiny card. This is Halls of Learning. So give me a second here. This deck is from Kyle Gray. It's a pretty new one. I actually watched a little bit of his YouTube video and I heard him talking about this particular card before. It's a place where it's kind of like it could be kind of like the Akashic Library if you want to think about it that way. But each of us kind of have this place that we go to where we can learn. It's a dimension that you can access. But when we're looking at this in a sort of broader sense and a more everyday sense, spirit guides, confirmation, great lessons. So this is the karma that I was talking about. But this is also saying that when you're not really done, like there's more to be had, you can always go back, kind of like going to the library and opening up a new book. So when you've finished most of your karma for this lifetime, that's when it gets really fun, because then you get to just do what you want to do. You get to be on your soul's path. You get to just sort of like explore. I think this is all setting you up for a really cool 2022, where you can start to not relive the patterns of the past. But as an important piece to that, if we don't learn our soul's history, if we don't look at our history, then we are kind of doomed to repeat. So take some time in the next 7 days for sure, if you're watching this before the new year, to sit down and reflect, journal, to talk, to think. If you have someone that you can chat with, talk about some of the stuff that's gone on, and get the perspective that you need so that you don't repeat the lessons. I think that's the most powerful message that comes through on that one. I'm very excited about what I'm seeing for the year ahead so far. I'm really excited what we're seeing here just in this precursor to my New Year's Eve special. It looks like you're on a nice precipice of change. Change can happen. Just to summarize a couple of cards, and then I'm going to pull a final overlooking card here that I would call the big idea to give us like that 10 of Wands, top of the mountain sort of viewpoint. But a couple of salient pieces here is you're only as limited as your thoughts with the World card. You may have to do some of this alone. It could be exciting. It could be overwhelming. Ask for help if you want it, because with the 6 of Wands, there is that sort of energy of interest in whatever it is that you're doing. Time and again, we kept seeing this sort of energy of emotions possibly getting in the way. Look for the clearing in that. Look for, you have to sometimes like get through all of that just to make sure that you're not blocked. Let's pull one big idea card for clarification and see what the message could be for all of us. How can you really step into reinventing yourself, or the energy of change? Okay. And the person sometimes kind of holding on to it really, really tight. So release. When the card is reversed, it's the opposite of holding on, which is release. And it's basically what we saw with the Fool. It's release and trust and move into that unknown with a sense of possibility, right? So don't hold on so tightly. Don't kind of constrict things, and really allow yourself to kind of like see what's available to you before you limit yourself. Also telling yourself this doesn't necessarily have to be as good as it gets, whatever it is that you're experiencing. Open yourself up to the surprise of what tomorrow might bring. Maybe someone will be knocking on the door with a present, with a telegram, with some good news. Opening it up and waiting for those kind of miracles, those surprises, etc. I think that's going to be really important for you. So I hope these answered your questions. So far, I'm seeing really, really great things. If you have one more question, take a moment right now to write it down. We're going to meditate here in just a moment, and then I'll answer your question. That's how it works here. That's the one time when I take a collective question at once, where we just meditate on it. A couple of quick notes. I try not to inundate you too much with this. I see we have a great audience today, so we're pretty much at the halfway point. But for all of you that haven't hit the thumbs up, just hit it once. You can only do it once, otherwise it unlikes it. That helps. And if you're brand new, hit the subscribe button so that I can keep growing this channel. I'd like to do some new things next year, like podcasting and more impromptus. Got a really positive response on the impromptus. So to make sure that you don't miss an impromptu, hit the bell and click all notifications, because there's a few choices. That way, if I choose to just go live out of the blue, I'm going to do that more. Then you'll be told that I'm doing that. If you happen to watch on replay, you can show some thanks by clicking thanks. And while we're getting ready for meditation here, you can also show a little support here by using super stickers or super thanks. And I appreciate all of you, whether it's a like or a subscribe or a chat, doesn't matter, or just showing up. All of this helps out. Finally, if you want to join me on social media, all my links are listed up above. I'm Nicholas Ashbaugh on most platforms and Ashbaugh on Twitter. Remember, I'm never going to reach out directly to you. I never use chat. If anyone's trying to get a product or service out of you using chat, that's not me. I just have to say that because there's a lot of imposters that pop up here and there. All right, let's get ready for the meditation. Obviously, today we're going to use the Phoenix. You're going to become the Phoenix. We're going to use fire as an energy to kind of create new things in your life. So let me just grab my keyboard, and I'll give you a choice to vote between the singing bowl or the crystal. So let's see, which instrument would you like? Singing bowl or crystal pyramid? And no choice better than the other for me. I like both of them here. All right, maybe in the new year I'll get some different singing bowls too, because I noticed that one seems to be chosen a lot. Okay, so vote if you'd like to, and then close your eyes. The meditation lasts about 2 minutes. I'd love for you to stick around. Like I said, at the end, I'll pull a final card. You can intend whatever question you would like me to read on that final card. So it's a freebie at the end, so stick around if you'd like. Close your eyes. tune into your body first and just pay attention to anything that you might be holding on to, since we got that 4 of Pentacles coming through. So on this breath, you can reach up if you'd like. Relaxing your energy, taking a moment to gently move your shoulders up and back, to move your neck to the side if you'd like to just sort of like open up and relax. All right, let's imagine that you are sitting around a fire. It's nighttime. You can see the beautiful Milky Way or the Aurora Borealis above you, clear sky, no signs of city or life in sight, just nature. The only signs of life that you see are like owls and crickets and birds and things like that. You can imagine that it's a summer night, not a winter night. So on this warm summer night, there's a breeze that comes through. You can smell sweet honeysuckle or whatever sort of native flowers you can connect with. And as you look up at the heavens, you see all these little fiery points of light. Reminders again that we are all constituted from that stardust above us that we see, we're all constituted from stardust. Looking at the fire in front of you, I want you to reach out your hands for a moment, warm your body, and then just stare into the flames and look and see what they might show you. For some of you, you might be reminiscing on lessons from the past. You might be seeing a glimmer of a dream that you want to see come into fruition. Imagine that the flames start to dance and they start to create a figure or a form. See your own energy, your own sort of light body being able to join the sort of flames as they dance. And because your energy, you're not feeling the sort of heat, you're just feeling the light and the connection there. So imagine as you're dancing, you see a beautiful bird stretch its arms out, just like a thunderbird. If you'd like to, you can imagine that it aligns with your form. And you can see these beautiful flames that are connecting and creating lovely feathers and wings behind you. So I want you to see yourself as the phoenix personified, breathing in, exhaling and seeing this beautiful breath of fire literally coming out, where you can reduce to ashes anything in your life that no longer needs to be there. Fears and thoughts and those sorts of things that have been holding you back. And then you can breathe life into something that you want to see take form, take shape, or be a focus of your energy. So dance between the creative and destructive energy that is the phoenix. I'm going to play the singing bowl while you do that. Imagine that you are getting more and more connected to the phoenix energy. As you're doing it, you're reminded there are no true ends. There's just a nexus, just a point between one end and another beginning. You are going to be focusing on stepping into the beginnings today. See yourself now strong and powerful. Feel a lightness in being. Also feel the light coursing through your veins, through your cells. Feel this in this moment in time, you are unstoppable. Carry with you this confidence, this newfound hope, this ability to move beyond any sort of perceived blockages in your life. Carry it into not just New Year's Eve and the new year, but beyond. Know that you always have that energy of the phoenix that, again, oftentimes the death card is misunderstood. It is the transformative gateway, just like we were seeing here with the Horus card. And the question is simply, are you ready? Are you ready to step into that? A question that I posed in my book too. Are you ready? And that's really the question as you're stepping towards this year ahead. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. We're going to shuffle the cards now and take a look at your final question for me. So focus on what it is, your intention, your hope, your wish, and let's take a look and see what guidance is coming through. Page of Coins, fantastic. And this is the new seed. This is the little plant that I saw growing. So if you're truly ready to plant that seed, we definitely see it growing. The Page of Pentacles is saying there are people that are interested in what it is that you have to offer. So if you're job seeking right now, good time. If you're looking at trying to find a way to garner interest or attention, this is great. But I like that we see there's always a little bit of darkness before the light. There's always a little bit of emptiness before we see a beautiful plant taking shape there. So what a beautiful metaphor for the patience that's necessary. Literally, it was the last piece of what I was talking about today. For growth to take place, you must take care of that future path. And I talked about, after clearing the cobwebs, you basically have to water, nourish, and pay attention to something, just like a plant. So we've come full circle in today's reading. And the message is, yes, but yes, if and only if you decide to invest in whatever it is you're trying to create, whatever it is that you want to see growth take place in. So it's yes, but show up for the work. Okay. For some of you, this is also just showing that if you decide to invest in yourself, great time to do that. Again, a lot of messages around patience. So one drop at a time, one leaf at a time, one day at a time. Okay. Beautiful messages today. I really like what I'm seeing. Great weekly forecast and a great message on changing. So be patient, be persistent, and nurture the change. And you should start to see some really great energy take shape. Okay. This is the point where I share a little bit of gratitude and say thanks to everybody that gave back today. A couple of notes before I do that. Let me just pull up a new tab here. I want to make sure to remind you of my upcoming schedule. So I'm going to be live tomorrow, which is the 27th, Monday, and I'll be reading for Aquarius. And then on Thursday, I'm waiting for my schedule, but I kind of haven't memorized yet. On Thursday, the 30th, I'll be doing Pisces, and then I'm doing a New Year's special on the 31st, on Friday. So here's the schedule. I'll be putting a special link for the New Year's one as I get a little bit closer, like later today, so you can set a reminder on that. But everything else should already be on my website. All right, so give me a moment now to say thank you to those of you that gave back a little bit. As I'm waiting for this to load, I want to say, first of all, thanks if anybody's brand new. Thanks to anybody that newly subscribed. A special thanks to all of my channel members and Patreon supporters, all of whom chose today's topic, so thank you for voting. And let's take a look now at those who gave back a little bit. So we'll start first with anybody that's a new member or just recently rejoined. I always like to welcome you. So starting with folks that just today either joined or rejoined. Thank you, Betty Burns, More Than Green, Lynn Rowe, Gianesco, 1122, Once in a Blue Moon, cool name, Dana Serenity, Kendra Nicole. A few of these are rejoining. Nellie D, I'm just going to say, Kelly Heron, and let's see, that's everybody from today, I believe. So thank you so much for joining or rejoining. Good to have you back, and good to have you as well. For the supers, and again, I appreciate all equally, big and small, so thank you so much. Let me just go through this and say thanks to those who were able to give back. Heidi Joe Brown Aramis, I think, thank you so much. Matthew Hegum, I appreciate that. Marianne Palermo, Justice Astro Tarot, Amber, Leon Klaus, Cass, Andrew Rage, good to see you again. Welcome back. Thank you very much. Rose Miller, Hazel. Rose, thank you as well for the 50. I appreciate that. Hazel, Kazi, thank you. Georgianne, Kendra Williams, also thanks for the 50. Appreciate that. Charlene Fox, big thanks for the 100. Tracy Lynn, Muggle, Wanda Diane. It's kind of, I had to read it, kind of flew together there. Arzu, Pam B2, Wendy Wright, Susan, thank you. Terry Trujillo, let's see, I think it's Zycy. You're following D2, Isha Marie, Red Druidess, Sammy B, Mary Jo Pohl, The Bold and the Blessed, Jocelyn, Nina Carpenter, Teresa, Michelle Baxter, Jordan Gloss, Robin Redman, Beverly Kendall, Jackie Wendes, I think it is, sorry, Deborah, Monica P, let's see, Krista McKnight, Regina, thank you so much again for the 50 on that one too. Mahima, I can't pronounce the last name, Mahima L, thank you. 62 and Sunny, Jeannie Hart, Melissa P, and LCB. Thank you, everybody. Again, all contributions are equally appreciated, especially for those of you that have showed up time and again. And a lot of you are also channel members, and I appreciate you. Good to see so many familiar faces. I can't wait to ring in the new year with you. So please show up at the end of the week if you'd like to, and we'll do something special to really kind of like get the new year off to a good start, to let go of the old stuff, and to make it a great 2022. I think we're all ready for it, right? It's been a long couple of years. So thank you, everybody. Special thanks to Maria, who helped moderate today. And everybody for being patient as I took little Apollo for a walk. Very important for puppy health. That's always a top priority. All right, from my heart to yours, my home to yours, wish you a happy holiday season, happy New Year's. And like I said, I'll be here with you on Friday if you want to break from all the other crazy TV shows on. Okay, take care of yourself. And until then, be happy, be healthy, and wishing you much love and abundance. Bye-bye, everyone.